are back for Greg Burt's second half of his interview with Andrew Culkin about his life with his wife, Amanda.
We're back with Andrew, and where we left off, unfortunately, Amanda passed away, and it was in February of 2020, which is right at the start of the pandemic, and that must have been a really incredibly difficult time to deal with the loss of your wife of 20 plus years, right at the start of social distancing and all the craziness.
Right. Yeah, it was a crazy time. In fact, we live in Temecula, California. We have a clubhouse, and we actually cremated Amanda, but I had a get-together at the clubhouse, and it actually ended up being the last event at the clubhouse just before COVID. If she died in February 21st, I think we had a get-together on the 28th, and the whole country shut down probably that weekend. That was a crazy time, absolutely.
Yeah, but you, of course, once the pandemic hit, you had some time, self-isolating. That led you to decide to write the book that we see behind you on screen, Amanda.
Yeah, part of it was, because of the pandemic, a lot of my own clients, like I was doing group presentations, certainly during open enrollment, and usually I have 50, 60 people show up, and I'd have one a week maybe, and people didn't want you in your houses anymore. So I said, I'm doing okay financially. Let's make a different direction. Let's go in a different direction here. And I one of the reasons I wrote the book is because, after 20 years, I didn't want, a lot of people would just move on with their lives, and I realized I had 20 plus years of experience with this alcoholic tragedy. And I know I have a lot of knowledge and experience, certainly to help other families to identify a loved one and to, help people in a number of different ways. Because the quicker you're able to find that someone has an issue, the quicker that you can help them. It's very similar to cancer. If you get somebody in stage 1 cancer, they have a much higher chance of recovery. If you get somebody who's 20 years in, their chance of recovery is almost zero. Mm-hmm. So that's really my motivation, is to save lives.
Yeah, so you channeled your life and your experience, and I'm sure you did a lot of research into the book. So tell me a little bit about what you're hoping the book does, and of course you're speaking to groups now and hoping to help people identify the stages of alcoholism and what to look for.
Right. Well, part of it was I used to go to one of her rehabs. They have a thing called Family Weekend. It's when the families come in with the patient, and a couple times I said, mind if I speak? This was when Amanda was still alive, and then after she died, they actually asked me to come back, and that's kind of how the speaking started. Because in a lot of the rehabs, there's a lot of kids there that are not just alcoholics. There's heroin addicts, and my whole thing was is to stop, being codependent with your children. Stop giving them money, a place to live. Just enabling your children. It's the same thing with any alcoholic. Families should not enable the person because they're not going to get better, and you're only going to be dragged down by that particular situation. Especially when it's a parent-child situation. When it's a spouse situation, it's very similar, and you have to cut that person off. That's the best way. It's the best way to survive as a family member and also help the patient.
Yeah, it is the best way, but it's often, like you said, the hardest way, especially for a family member, for a mother to say, "Oh, my boy, he's having trouble, but I can't just let him go away like this."
And I always say, the best education you give your children is a zero bank account and nowhere to turn, because they will grow up in a hurry. They will either pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get creative and find a way out of their situation. They have to. They're going to be forced to, rather than rely on mommy and daddy for money and a place to live and a direction. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to allow your children to fail. You have to fail to be successful. Success is, there's a lot of failure in success, and you have to